Redditors who have found stories post about themselves or situations, places they were at on Reddit. What's your side of the story? I live in Tanzania and was away at the coast for a few days with my buddy, and we decided to go out to one of the local clubs. As I was sitting outside, I got chatting to this younger guy who was on holiday with his friends. He told me about how someone on Reddit had given him some advice on what to do over there and whatnot. That was me. I found my old roommate's Reddit and there was a post asking for advice for her cat because he had been acting up a lot. She mentioned that he pooped on my bath mat, but she didn't think much of it because he didn't like me. But in reality, that cat was an absolute dumbass who liked me even though he was an asshole. Never figured out why he pooped on my bath mat, but offended, she thought he did it to be mean to me. Edit. He peed on her laundry a few times after that, and that's when she realized he was acting up. He stopped shortly after that, but I don't think she ever figured out what was going on since she was cleaning out his litter box. Unscented. Normally, he just kinda stopped. But my point still stands that he was a really dumb cat. If my old roommate is reading this, I love you and I love Snickers, and you know he's dumb. I'm the reason you have to provide photo verification on either rate me or me ugly can't remember which one it was. Some weirdo posted photos of me to one of those two subs and acted like the photos were famous here. I can't remember what was said, but the post ended up on subreddit drama, and that's how I found it. I messaged the mods with proof that the photos were me, and I definitely didn't post them. Nor did I want people commenting on my appearance. They immediately took the post down, and the catfish who posted it deleted their account. The rule for photo verification came about shortly afterwards. Extra fun fact: the photos used were stolen from my completely private Instagram, meaning it had to have been someone from my close social circle. Never found out who did it or why. So I had bigger post on pics a couple years ago with my dad next to a new painting he had worked on. Every few months someone will repost it, saying, "My dad is their dad." Reddit cavalry is usually quick to call me in, so I ask for photo evidence just in case I need to learn about any secret siblings. Edit. Link to the post. https://pics/comments/6ggq8m/my_dad_the_artist_the_midlife_crisis/ For those who were asking, my classmate ranted on Reddit about how I was celebrating my grandfather's death and therefore probably a sociopath. My grandfather abused my grandmother heavily and was overall just a shitty person. I wasn't celebrating. I was just unmoved by his death. That's all. My ex posted in our relationships after he cheated on me. It was a very short post on an alt account. I don't even know if he had a main, but he knew I used Reddit. Basically looking for sympathy and hope, confessing what he did was wrong but asking how he could fix it, and I saw it because he wanted me to see it. He left it open on my computer in a next level IQ move. He left out a lot, including that he'd cheated multiple times and lied in counseling about it. Out of curiosity I hit refresh. It got basically no steam but 3 comments saying they hope I left him easier, so I did. Lol. I was on IATA a few days ago and this guy posted about this store that refused him a refund because of Hurricane Dorian. He mentioned tertiary details that led me to believe he was a problem customer I had a couple weeks ago. We messaged each other. I confirmed it was indeed the same guy, and I called him out on the lies he told in his story. His post got locked and he got thoroughly reamed. I used to drink a lot. 1 year sober now, but have drank 3 times over 4 years. And I passed out down by a river. I was on someone's Snap story. It was super embarrassing. Many years ago. I met a girl on Steam. Monsieur wasn't really that close friends with her, but she told me she was in the same city I live in. For a while we would chat daily. Nothing serious. I had a GF at the time and I didn't even know what she looked like. It was genuinely platonic. We'd talk about video games, local restaurants we like, etc. Never planning to meet or anything like that. Well, eventually she faded off. There were a few times where she was online and I said, "Hey," with no response. Then like an hour later I'd say, "Hey," again. This happened maybe 5 times over the course of 6 months. Finally she just never signed on again. Fast forward to 2 years ago. I'm reading an old classic AskReddit, "What was the scariest thing you ever experienced?" thread from 2014. I see a story of this girl who has been stalked IRL for a year. Some dude leaving faceprints on her window, emailing her photos of herself taken outside. Awful and invasive stuff. How was this about me? Well, she became convinced that it was me for some reason, because it started happening shortly after we started talking. In this post, she told the whole backstory that was unmistakably ours. She even posted screenshots of our convos, thankfully censoring my username, where I said, "Hey," twice, describing it as the early signs of her stalker's obsession. She said she was stalked IRL for like a year before the guy thankfully stopped. I couldn't even message her because the account was deleted by the time I found it, years after it was posted. I found a post my now ex, but at the time, boyfriend had made about a girl he couldn't forget about going on dates with and how sweet she was, and how he wished he could still be seeing her. I was not the girl he was posting about, so that was fun lol. I have an ex who wrote a bunch of entries about how he wanted to get me back and make up for all the hurt he caused me. And could he just manifest a reason into the universe for me to text him this year? He lied to me for over 3 years about the existence of his wife and 2 children. I am very obviously not going to text his dumb ass. I found a post that I believe described a coffee shop I frequent, from a barista I'm good friends with. I clicked their profile to confirm it was the monsieur. I found a description of her wedding and that it was the best wedding ever. I was charmed. Long story cut short, my evil ex, living together for 5 years at the time, was chatting to another woman online, who he had told was single. She mentioned that her deceased husband once hit her. My ex sympathized and went on about how he abhorred violence towards women, and could never understand why men would do that. Said she should have gone to the police, etc. I was reading it with the worst black eye I had ever seen in my life and a fractured rib, courtesy of him monsieur. A clip from a TV show I was on 20 years ago blew up on Reddit a few years ago. It was weird. Never outed myself though. To read about people talking about you. Edit. Sorry y'all. Not going to dox myself on here. But since you asked, most of the comments were pretty benign. Talking about my appearance. What I should or shouldn't have done. It did get me to stop lurking though. 'Cause I really didn't know what Reddit was all about. Just peripherally. Brother-in-law's wife was ranting on here about my mother-in-law. Something unrelated to me entirely. And as part of the supporting argument noted that mother-in-law is constantly taking my wife and I with them on vacations, but not the monsieur. What they don't know, or clearly left out, is that we split the cost of those vacations and or pay our own way. Or we buy the room next time. She seems to have a victim complex sometimes and twists scenarios to appear as the victim monsieur. Wasn't on Reddit, but someone once posted a really creepy missed connection about me on Craigslist. I was at Target with a friend and stopped at the in-store Starbucks while he checked out. The much older barista later wrote about how he knew he had feelings for me when our hands touched while he gave me my drink. My friend saw it and texted me, and I still haven't gone back to that Target years later. so I was sexually abused by my mother as a boy and had sexual relations with her as a teenager. I shared my story in a comment and was messaged by a woman who was very encouraging. She said she was studying to be a social worker and was very comforting to me. I ended up sharing a lot of details about my mother's abuse as well as the sexual relationship we had when I was a teen. Of course, she was not a sympathetic social worker at all and wasn't even a woman. Instead, he used our conversation to write a story that he posted on the incest subreddit. I was a subscriber and immediately recognized my story. He couldn't post the childhood abuse details, but he used the incest details almost verbatim, just changing my age to fit the rules and exaggerating my emotions so that it seemed I enjoyed everything that happened. I messaged him and he eventually deleted his post and his account, so at least my story got removed fairly quickly, which was a small comfort. Though I still felt sick after reading some of the responses and knowing that he and others got off on it. Edit. Sorry, not used to this much attention. Feeling kind of overwhelmed. I'll check back in a few days to reply. Thank you. Take care. Be well. A while back, I posted a question to AskReddit. A few months later, apparently it was featured in an article about Yacht Week. Pretty dope. The story came about in a session with one of my clients. He was a younger client struggling with substance abuse, and he was talking about how he just wanted to get rich and stay high all day. We talked about it and thought it would be cool to ask Reddit. It was fun to read the responses. Wasn't a super therapeutic intervention, but it helped build rapport with him, which is never bad in a counseling relationship. Not on Reddit, but when I looked up the reviews for a retail store that I worked for, I found one about me. It was about a girl in the returns department. I was the only girl who worked there at the time. I don't remember all of it, but I do remember it said, "She looks like she hates everyone." My coworkers and I got a good laugh out of it. They weren't entirely wrong. I hated working for that company, especially in that department. I had a lot of fun, though, so I don't loathe my memories of working there. I found my ex's Reddit account. Turns out she broke up with me because of an disagreement we had. I remember specifically asking her, was it because of this? She said no and gave some long-ass bullshit reason. I've learned from seeing the rest of her posts that she's pretty insane. Timid in real life. Warrior on Reddit. I was browsing a poop thread on RTIFU one day and found a comment by my high school friend who had observed my at the time best friend frantically call me over to tuck his pants into his shoes so that the turd that was making its way down his leg wouldn't fall out onto the ground before he could make it to a toilet.